It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. I'm Candice Gish. Well, I'm so excited, everyone. We're going to be having a great show today. We're going to be introducing a brand new diva to our diva family, and I'm very excited to get to know her. I don't know a lot about her. I've seen her amazing website, and I've read about her. But like you guys, I'm going to get to know this amazing author. So welcome, Sigourney Belle. I'm so excited to have you.
Hi, guys, and thank you so much, Candice, for having me on today. Really excited to share with you.
Oh, I'm excited to get to know you, Sigourney. I can't wait to dive into everything that you are doing out there. And you are absolutely empowering and inspiring to a lot of women out there. But before we dive into that, would you mind spending a couple of minutes kind of sharing a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So where do I start? This is always an interesting question. I've done so much in my life, from growing up on a tiny self-sustained island with 100 community members, being raised on an island, catching my own food and basically living off grid, to now running two massive successful businesses. So my life has been an absolute journey. I've lived so many lives. I worked in the medical industry for 8 years. Worked as a medical intuitive for 3 years. I've studied forensic psychic work. I've birthed 2 businesses, written 3 books in a year, which was last year. And yeah, I've done so many different things in my life, and
oh my goodness!
I feel like,
and you've traveled.
I have so much.
You've traveled so much around the world.
Yeah, I've spent the last 10 years traveling. So around the age of 18, I started traveling after uni. Before uni, but when uni finished, I spent 8 years traveling the world and working between different hospital systems, and also studying in Nepal and India, and living in monasteries and ashrams, and studying, ancient esoterics such as yoga and Ayurveda and astrology and Tibetan Buddhism. So I feel like I've lived a very full life already, and I'm only 31. But it's quite interesting because at this I know I'm at this point in my life where I'm actually newly pregnant, and so I'm actually having to stop now and slow down and to actually be in one spot, and it's very challenging for me as someone that's very ingrained to just like move with wherever I'm feeling inspired to travel. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. You're a gypsy. And I love that part of it, because the things that you've seen and you've done, that is just an inspiration in itself, because a lot of us that are wanting to travel like that, don't necessarily are able to. And I live vivaciously through others when I hear their stories. I'm like, oh my goodness, she's done that. I'm like, wow, that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's just, I feel like sometimes I have no choice. Like this is something that just pulls me, and I just start to like really just feel myself moving. And I feel like I have a very indigenous spirit, actually. You know how they used to walk the land, and they would never really stay in one spot. And I feel very much so the same. Like I'm always feeling connected to different pieces of land, and they always have some kind of gift for me. So I've very much so lived my life like that. But yeah, it's just going to be a very interesting and different journey now.
You know what? That's, children are like that, aren't they?
Yes, apparently so.
Well, I want to dive into, because we're listening to your life story, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And it kind of led into, I love that, because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this probably suits her quite well. Would you mind sharing with our listeners, what this book is all about?
Yeah, of course. So it's a new paradigm of business. It's a new way of doing business, and it's something that I have been journeying myself over the past 3 years. It's only been 3 to 4 years since I actually birthed my first company, and now I have 2. And the way that I've basically created them and grown them has been very unconventional. And not, I've never actually had a business coach. I've never utilized any particular strategy. All of my business training has actually been through the processes that I teach and through actually accessing my intuition and following that. And somehow, it's like I never envisaged myself to be an entrepreneur actually, growing up, but somehow I've ended up in that position. Yeah, and it's just purely being through following my creative impulses and through actually these practices that I teach that really help you to drop into your deep creativity and your femininity and that creative expression. And by following that, I've just ended up with these 2 businesses and done very well for myself actually. But it's been by no means of like planning and strategizing and using logic. It's actually been a very different process. And, I now have a team of close to 30 people, and the way that we work as a team is also very different. Yeah, thank you. So it kind of teaches these principles of really learning how to, instead of like learning, how to actually unlearn and how to come back to the deepest innate knowing inside of ourselves and how to actually create a business from that space, which naturally will create success. So.
Oh, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
and it's very, you were mentioning, it's very feminine centered, is it not?
Yes.
And I like that.
Yeah, it's really important, as a lot of entrepreneurs do get burnt out very easily, and I feel like a lot of that is related to not having feminine practices, which actually allow us to slow down and drop into deeper states of receptivity and to receive and to actually relax our nervous system. So a lot of my work is actually centered upon, less doing and more unwinding and opening the body and coming into these deep states of relaxation where, ironically, we actually can access our deep creativity. So a lot of people are trying to do, but they're not actually connected to what is wanting to arise within them from a creative source. And if we can actually surrender, we learn how to access that, which is more of a feminine kind of principle.
But what I like about it the most is it doesn't have to be just for women. It's for men too, because when men connect with their feminine power, it is such a strong thing. Yes.
I actually worked for 4 years. I say underground in Melbourne because it was, I was working on the side in hospital systems, and then like my other job was I was working as a tantric practitioner with corporate men for 4 years. Teaching them tantric practices to actually work with their sexual energy and awaken their feminine power. And it was the most liberating, beautiful work that I've ever done, actually. I was often brought to and moved to tears. Seeing these men sometimes for the very first time being touched by, this feminine aspect of themselves that they'd never actually fully felt before because of all of the conditioning in society of, around how a man is meant to be in the world. And, so absolutely, it definitely applies to men as well.
I just think that's beautiful in itself. I think that there needs to be more work out there done with men, because I think that's the thing. And they're overwhelmed. And I think we put a lot of pressure, and in today's society, there's just so much pressure. There's just so much in the last few years that has changed, and not everybody knows how to adapt. And we're trying to do the new norm, and unless there's people there to be able to support them, they're not going to be able to make that transition.
Absolutely. And I also feel like, one of the reasons I created my body of work for women in teaching women Tantra, which is the Wild Grace movement, was all about, I was actually seeing when I was working with these men, these corporate men, these highly masculinized men, that were often coming to me with relationship issues. What I would often do and end up working with their partner. And when I started working with their partner and I actually started to empower, the woman in the relationship to own her feminine power, and naturally that would translate into him softening and him being able to receive her more, and the whole relationship dynamic would change. So, just by a woman actually owning her power and actually her femininity, that translates massively towards men. I think that's something that men are
that.
craving, actually, and they don't have enough access to it because a lot of women are highly masculinized as well.
Yes. Well, and I see a shift in that aspect. I was talking to a friend of mine, a month ago, and she was mentioning some classes she was taking to try to empower herself back into that because she felt that it was affecting not only her relationships but her business. And she's like, I feel so much better now. And I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be great. When I knew that you were going to be coming on our program, I thought this is going to be a great topic to share with all of our Diva listeners, because it's not something that is brought up a lot. We're always told we need to be more masculine in a lot of ways in order to succeed in life. But in reality, it's not that way. Just because, a lot of our listeners know that I'm a mother of 4 girls, and they're all getting to that age now that this is going to be a part of their lives, and they're going to be, experiencing things. And to me, it's like when I hear amazing women like yourself that are doing this, I'm like, okay, my girls are be able to do this. They've got people like you that can mentor them and support them in a way that, I didn't have in my youth and as I was in my early 20s. So I'm so excited when I hear this, because now I want to get more back into that. But now they're going to grow up with that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's becoming so much more accessible and also normalized now, which is great. Like when Goop came out, Gwyneth Paltrow's series, I was just mind blown. I'm like, wow, this kind of more taboo, these suppressed aspects of, the psyche and consciousness around, sexuality and femininity and all of these aspects that are normally really hidden from the mainstream are really coming to the light and being normalized at the moment, which is really exciting.
I love that. Isn't it? It's really exciting because we're not used to that. We didn't grow up that way. And to see that is it's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah, it's our generation. So my generation are all Pluto and Scorpio generations, which is all about basically like, I feel like a big part of my role and my generation's role is to really like dig up these shadow aspects of society and really bring them to the light to be normalized. And I feel like in a sense, like I'm seeing a mass wave now. Like when I turn on my social media, it's all just feminine empowerment work and all of this really beautiful, empowering work. And I'm almost like, oh, is my job done? Like it feels like, it's really hitting the masses now, which is really exciting.
Oh, I love it. I love what you are doing. I'm very inspired by you, Sigourney.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So tell me, a question I have is, why did you decide to call your book Wild Business? I love the name of it. I think it's great. And for me, I kind of understand, but maybe explain it to our listeners.
Yeah, sure. So Wild's kind of a thread that I have throughout my businesses. So my other business is Wild Grace, and they're kind of polar opposites, which I kind of like. It's like a bit of an oxymoron, which is kind of a part of it as well, because what I'm trying to do is to initiate a new way of doing business. So the wild aspect is I'm kind of correlating it to being like nature. Which is actually the feminine principle. Nature is the feminine principle. It's always changing. It's always moving. It's alive. It's awake. It's ecstatic. We can't predict it. Like the ocean or like a tidal wave doesn't think I'm not going to flood this area. It just does that. It's this inherent force that actually exists within everything and exists within us. That's alive. And really, one of the big things that I'm teaching people and an aspect of what I'm teaching people in business is how can we wake up that life force within us? How can we feel ecstatic about what we're creating? And that really creates this magnetism behind our business. And wherever there's a block in our life force, it actually ends up showing as a block in our business. So what shows up in our business is always connected to something that's happening internally for us. And we can always shift that through actually finding the root block of what's happening in our own bodies. And it's usually an emotional block. And if we can actually unhinge that, then we can actually create flow in the business again. So I kind of it's almost like a tantric business model because Tantra is all about energetic flow in a system. So things always being moving and flowing. And it's the same in business. So I have this principle around like syntropic business where like making sure there's always energy available in a business and flowing, and where there's a block, then we can look at what that is and kind of unveil it. And the way that we do that is through these practices that unleash our wildness. So, you know, one of the things I teach is like a tantric sublimation and meditation practice, where it's not just a meditation practice working on the mind, but it's about unlocking what's in the body, because the mind is a reflection of the body. So, you know, we can still the mind.
I love that.
Yeah, but if there's emotional processes happening in the body and we're just working at a psychological level, then it's actually not addressing. If it's the mind's just going to come back and it's going to be loud because it's not actually addressing the root of what's creating it. They're one, and that's, I think, also a big realization that you know, modern science is having around the effectiveness of psychology, and it actually needing to encompass these more somatic approaches to healing, because the mind is not separate to the body. Part of what I teach is how to like track what the blocks are in your business, and it always comes back to being some kind of usually internal block. And we can figure what that is out through accessing deeper intuition.
I'm going to be honest with you. I am absolutely loving what you do with people. I think that is so revolutionary in a lot of ways. I know that it's probably around the people that you talk to, it's not. A lot of people hear about this, but for us, it's not something that is discussed a lot. And I really like how you're able to do that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's reassuring, because I find that with algorithms these days, when you are showing up and doing something, it will usually attract people that are doing similar things. And sometimes I look on my social media feed and I'm like, do I even need to be doing my work anymore? Because everyone's doing it. But that's the same for everyone.
No,
right?
You need to continue doing that, because I think a lot of our listeners need to hear about that. And one of the great things is that our program is listened to in over 30 countries around the world, and all of our listeners are probably excited to hear about this. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. I know that you are in Australia. Do you work with people outside of Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, my biggest client base is in the US. 60% of my clients are in the US. And because most of my work is online now because of travel restrictions, I am able to work with absolutely anyone from across the globe. So I have staff members in the States, in New Zealand, in Bali. So, yeah, we have a global audience.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I know that our listeners are going to love to check you out. We're going to be posting all of your social media after the program here, but I'm excited to be able to share that. How can our listeners, I know that we've been chatting about your book and that you said that you wrote 3 books. Wow. How can they get a hold of your book?
Yeah, so on my Instagram page or my website, I have links to all 3 books. Wild Business is actually launching either this or next week. So it hasn't actually launched yet, but there is a free ebook there for female entrepreneurs, which I kind of discuss the main blocks to growing a business. So if you sign up to receive the free ebook, then you automatically go onto our list, and we'll let you know when the book's out. But my other 2 books, there's links on my Instagram page and on my website. So Sigourney Belle and SigourneyBelle.com. And yeah, my first book was called Leviathan, which is about the feminine codes to creation. And the second book is called Rapture, which is about ecstatic relationships and the new wave of relating.
That is awesome. Well, I'm excited to go and check out those books myself, and I will definitely be posting that on our social media, because I think that our listeners would love to check them out. Wow, Sigourney, this is great. I know that our call is coming to an end pretty quick here, but I hope that you're able to come back on our program again and kind of go through maybe some more things that you do during your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I would actually love to come and share more, and anything that can be of use for your listeners to inspire them. And I would love to share more. Absolutely.
I'm very excited. Well, one of the things that I do at the end of our program is that I always ask our amazing guests to share some tips and tools for our listeners. Yeah,
so tips and tools. Let me see what I feel alive. Don't feel like by doing less that you're not doing more. actually, sometimes when I take a holiday, I end up with the most clients. Like I end up, because when you're in a state of deep rest, you're actually in a state of receptivity and you can receive more. So it almost opens the floodgates for what is there that's already like wanting to come through for you to actually land. So the importance of rest and deep rest in creating a business that's sustainable, that lasts, is really important. And the other thing I would share is the importance of ritual. A big part of why I feel like I've also been able to grow my business and my businesses like I have has been consistent ritual. So I'm always ensuring that I have a clear space, a really simple, clear space, because our external reality is reflected in our internal reality. So when there's mess and when there's chaos in our external world, then that is mimicked in our internal world, and it's hard to actually get really clear and access your intuition. So clearing your space and also having a daily ritual that just anchors you into the core of yourself. So for me, that is when I wake up in the morning, I do a gentle self-touch practice and just wake up my body, and I don't switch my phone on for the first hour, and I just sit in a tea ceremony, actually, is what my ritual is, and just drop into myself and start to put a visualization practice. Because when we wake up in the morning, that's the most powerful time to tap into our intuition, because we're in a theta state still. I could go more into that, but I'll try and be brief. But morning practice is really important in a routine.
I love those tips, and I'm hoping that for sure in the next time you come back on our program, we can go more into that. I think that it's really important for people to learn those tips, because, in our fast-paced world, we're always up and about and we're getting going. We're always late for work. We're always running after kids. But I think that it's important for people, especially our ladies, our listeners that check in our program, to understand the importance of taking time for yourself and be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I just want to say is that I'm currently running a free 5-day webinar series, actually teaching people how to work with all of these practices. It's going to be free on replay on my Instagram page as well. So if you want to learn from me, there's going to be 5 free video series. I'm actually teaching you these practices and also teaching things like astrology and gene keys for business. So I'm teaching you how to tap into your innate genius essence. So that's something that's also available.
Excellent. That's going to be available right away here? Oh, perfect.
Yeah, as of next week.
Well, I'll make sure to let our listeners know that.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Well, Sigourney, I had a really good time today. I want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing about your business, but also talking about your book that I'm excited to go check out. We are so excited that you've joined our Diva family, and I can't wait for you to come back on the program.
Yeah, me too, Candace. Thank you so much for having me on. Very grateful.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you guys so much for checking Sigourney out and coming onto our program and listening. We hope that you take the recording of this program, and send it to your friends and family. I really think that everybody should get to know Sigourney. As I said, I loved her website. I'm going to be posting it on our social media links so that all of you can check it out. I'm going to be putting her Instagram on our page also, just so that you can go and check out her programs and follow her on that too, because I think it's going to be a great thing for you. And because of all you, thank you again, because our show has now been running for 11 years, and it's because of all of you amazing listeners around the world that we are able to provide this program and continue to meet these amazing women and have them on our show. So thank you so much. We appreciate all of you guys, and I hope that you do something kind for somebody out there today. So until next time, everyone, take care.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.